Despite the multiple heinous allegations against Diddy, he's still roaming free, and Candace Owens believes that Diddy is being protected because of his power and influence in the industry and is definitely one of the major players.
She thinks Diddy is a major player in these incidents since he enjoys throwing such contentious parties, even at his homes. This man seemed to be unaffected by every accusation, even those of operating trafficking networks, making unwanted advances on women and workers, and even engaging in domestic abuse. He has the ability to use famous people, legislators, and even the media as leverage to force them into staying quiet. Candace Owens thinks that if there's anyone powerful enough in the industry to target a global superstar like Michael Jackson and still get away with it, it's Diddy. And looks like he did it by the help of Fahim. Fahim is the man making sure everyone around Diddy remains out of the hands of the law. All they have to do is call Fahim if they do find themselves in danger. Apparently, this man can hide people's sins like a magician. Because of his ties to the police, Fahim can fully bury cases, whether they include or hit and runs.
Mr. Combs instructs his staff to always contact Mr. Muhammad, that is Fahim Muhammad, if they are ever pulled over by the police in Miami or California.
But before Fahim became the head of security for Diddy, he was responsible for Michael Jackson's security. As it happens, the primary perpetrator of Diddy's cover-ups was also present when Michael passed away. Fahim was also the second person in the room with Michael's body after Michael's physician. The media was only informed that Michael was receiving CPR attempts from the doctor when Fahim arrived, and that his children would eventually show up. And that's it. We still don't know what transpired in between. Fahim recounts this tale in a different way. Paris was on the ground, balled up crying, and Prince, he was just standing there. He had a real shocked, just slowly crying look on his face. Even Fahim's own version of the story does not coincide with the official documents. Fahim claims that he didn't come till after Michael had passed away. As soon as he reached the kids, he took them away from their father's lifeless corpse. However, isn't that a little suspicious? Why isn't the head of security there when Michael Jackson is in a position where his life is at stake? It seems that no one investigated this thoroughly enough to learn why just now. Muhammad Fahim becoming the head of security of a star as big as Michael Jackson when he was barely past his teenage is definitely suspicious, and it hasn't gone unnoticed by Michael's fans. During the time of Michael Jackson's death, Fahim Muhammad, a 21-year-old bachelor's degree graduate, was appointed as the head of security. He was also appointed as Diddy's head of security. Why was a 21-year-old, recent university graduate appointed as head of security? Fans are convinced that the odds of all this being a coincidence are pretty low. One fan stated, "It's probably not a coincidence that Diddy's head of security was also Michael Jackson's head of security. As Pleiadians have confirmed before, Hollywood pedo-Satanists blackmail each other with and ritualistic practices, and have the support of LAPD. Those who know and don't join are just a liability. Many celebs are likely very worried right now, and if they're smart, they've already prepared their clones to be arrested instead." This important bit of information seemed to have surprised Candace as well. Michael Jackson's death was not a natural one, and the media must have known this. However, until recently, they would not discuss the notion that it is a Clearly, everyone that knows Fahim is terrified of him. After all, according to Candace, might not be all that tough for celebrities like Diddy and Fahim, especially if it means keeping their identities and crimes a secret. This makes us think, why would someone assassinate a celebrity as big as Michael Jackson? Why would a member of his own squad attempt to kill him? It turns out that Michael was only a money-making machine for the people around him. The elites wanted to use him to make money, but when they realized he might know too many secrets about the notorious Hollywood organizations, they had to eliminate him.
And she might be right about all of it. Because why all? If we look back when Diddy was first starting to make waves, it was oddly suspicious that he became the vice president of Uptown Records at just 20 years old. I mean, this is straight up an industry with some nasty, cutthroat competition. Well, he might have done some favors to some big names in the industry to get that position.
This crazy lifestyle continued for a few months until Andre Harrell put his foot down. He offered him a full-time job at the label if he would drop out of Howard and return back to New York. Sean accepted it and it worked out extremely well. This is because at just 20 years old, Sean was promoted to the vice president of the label. Back in the day, Andre Harrell had a very similar story to Sean Combs. He was another college student in the Bronx hoping to one day work in the music industry. And while in college, he was discovered by a legendary music mogul by the name of Clive Davis. For those who don't know, Clive is famous for founding Arista Records and for being one of the first moguls to come out of the closet. Well, Clive took a special liking to Andre and took him under his wing in the music industry. Long story short, in 1985, Andre was given funding to start his own music label, one called Uptown Records. So just like Puff, Andre went out and discovered underground rappers, one of which being Heavy D. So again, this begs the same question: how did Andre get this position at such a young age? Well, according to Sean's former assistant, it's all a power dynamic with Clive Davis at the top. The insinuation is that the boss takes advantage of a young intern and will pay them back later on.
He loves the ability to manipulate and control people. Why? Most likely because he was victimized by his mentor, who loved to control people.
And his mentor was
Andre Harrell.
Tell us how
who was
he
mentored by Clive Davis.
Don't tell me that Andre Harrell got by Clive Davis too.
There's a connection between Diddy and Clive. Back when Diddy was young, he was a vodka promoter. He really didn't have much of a career happening, but he wanted to start a record label. When he met Clive, Clive was rather established. So he was 23 and able to convince Clive to take hip hop seriously, and Clive actually funded him and helped Diddy build Bad Boys. It's actually speculated that Diddy and Clive were in a relationship based on how quickly Diddy's record label Bad Boys became successful. This person tweeted that Diddy was given his Bad Boy imprint by Clive Davis, who is openly gay. I mean, he says bisexual, but what Diddy had to do for riches is not uncommon for successful black men in entertainment and in politics. All that glitters is not gold. Run your race, let the next man run his. Interesting. Now, a lot of people believe that Diddy is the way that he is. I mean, we've talked about him in countless videos at this point because of how Clive kind of groomed him to be this way.
My focus right now is Sean Combs.
Okay. Tell us why.
Because he's a trafficker. And he's using music and entertainment to traffic.
Now, is this just boys, girls, adults, kids? I
mean, from what I've heard from sources that I would consider reliable, it really doesn't matter.
Wow.
I don't think something that has anything to do with gender at this point for Sean. I honestly think he's just an extreme narcissist who loves power. He loves the ability to manipulate and control people.
So really what she's saying is that Diddy was Clive's favorite, and that's why he was immediately put onto this pedestal at a young age, really no experience, and now he's running everything. Now, Diddy has honored Clive throughout the years, so they still maintain a decent relationship. In 2019 at the Grammys, he was quoted saying that Clive Davis and Arista Records gave him a chance when he was starting Bad Boy Records. He was one of the first industry executives to really believe in him and Diddy, and he's forever grateful for Clive.
Bad Boy Entertainment. I named it Bad Boy because I wanted to go against the grain. Anytime you go against the grain, they consider you like kind of bad. Nothing negative, nothing like hardcore. Just, I didn't want to be regular.
So Clive was ultimately impressed by Diddy's vision and decided to fund his project. He immediately took Diddy under his wing and they became the best of friends. And by best friends, I mean there are rumors that in 1994, Clive forced Diddy to do some intimate things to him to be his, mentee.
But he got a boss too, and his boss name is Clive Davis. Clive run him. Diddy don't run his.
You know what? On top of that, she also believes that Diddy could not only be behind Tupac and Biggie's murders, but Michael Jackson's as well, considering that Michael's head of security is now Diddy's own head of security. Is that a coincidence? Man, I don't know, but my Sherlock Holmes instinct is telling me no way.
Holy smokes, you're not going to believe this, but there is, in fact, a Diddy and Michael Jackson connection. And I gotta be honest, I'm kind of terrified. I think this is gonna be the last day that I cover it because we're getting close to something that is very dangerous.
Diddy has found his way into the most insane controversy of his career so far. This time, he is being accused of being involved in the of the biggest superstar this world has ever seen. That's right. Rumors have it that the music mogul might also be connected to the death of Michael Jackson. I know it sounds crazy, but Candace Owens has come forward with proof that connects Diddy to the mysterious death of Michael Jackson.
What if I told you guys that it is about to get even crazier, that there is directly a link to Michael Jackson's death?
Candace Owens always has the craziest ideas. Being a conservative commentator and show host, she always comes up, takes on current events. But her crazy ideas are often backed with proof, so we can't negate anything she says as just hearsay. So this time, when she announced the infamous rapper might just be the guy we were all looking for in the Michael Jackson, we have got to at least pay attention. After hearing all her arguments, she may be on to something. Just when we thought we had heard all the craziest stories there can possibly be regarding Diddy, Candace comes forward with this bomb blast. According to her, Diddy might have had a hand in the mysterious demise of Michael Jackson. And don't worry, she isn't just starting rumors. Candace came on her show with receipts to back up her unbelievable claim. Diddy is a powerful man in the industry. He seems to have a lot of influence and power, but what could this man possibly have on all the big names in the industry that everyone seems to be afraid of? Why is it that no matter what crimes Diddy commits or what accusations against him make it to mainstream media, he never seems to face any consequences? Clearly, he knows some crazy secrets about the Hollywood elites that they want buried at any cost. This could also explain why a as big as Michael Jackson's could go unresolved until now. Michael Jackson is easily one of the biggest stars this world has ever produced. He was loved by the whole world, and one would think his would cause everything to come to a halt. Yet, he died in a very suspicious manner, and there was not much uproar after all. In fact, the media seemed to be trying desperately to bury it completely. Candace has pointed out how shocking this is, considering the magnitude of his stardom. And what's even more surprising is that now, after all this time, Diddy is alleged to be involved in his and once again, the media is dead silent. This case is arguably bigger than the Jeffrey Epstein case, and yet the media is silent on it. Why? Terrifying to consider, but Hollywood and our politicians are being blackmailed into compliance. Candace thinks Michael Jackson's isn't some isolated event. In fact, it is connected to the hundreds of other sinister cases in Hollywood. The industry is filled to the brim with creeps. It is a den for all sorts of criminals who seem to be able to get away with every crime under the sun. The world has only seen a glimpse of the unspeakable crimes that happen in places like the Virgin Islands, yet nobody ever speaks up against them. From politicians to law enforcement, everyone seems to be interested in protecting these elites. It's clear that Hollywood elites have more power than some of us can even fathom. Enough power to get rid of names as big as Michael Jackson, allegedly.
Okay, so Candace believes that Diddy's being used as a scapegoat, somebody who's going to take the fall for others in the industry. Because let's just face it, man, if anything starts getting exposed, like half of these people are going to end up arrested, in chains, and behind bars. And we know what happens to Hollywood actors when they get behind bars.
She said Diddy was actually being used as the scapegoat to save other people in the industry who were also involved in his dirty activities. Apparently, the raid was just a way for them to collect all the evidence that could possibly incriminate the people he's been doing this with. She said the feds are currently raiding Diddy's house. They already knew what he was up to, but he's gonna be the fall guy, so they can protect the people at the top of the ring. They're raiding his home to hide evidence, not to find it. That's how this works. The crazy thing is, there really is actually some truth to what Candace said, because if y'all remember, there were reports some time ago that people in the industry would also be exposed, but it wasn't confirmed who those people were going to be. However, the number one suspect on everybody's list was Jay-Z. Jay got some skeletons in his closet that have been slowly being exposed these past couple of months, and he also had very strong ties to Diddy before all this went down. The very popular psychic YouTuber Sloan Bella actually hinted at this a couple weeks ago when she said Jay-Z would be next in line to be exposed after Diddy. Now, I already know some of y'all done started to roll your eyes because you don't believe in the spiritual stuff. Trust me, I felt the same way when I first came across this. But Sloan was spot on about every single one of her predictions about Diddy. She predicted the Cassie lawsuit months before it happened and gave a timeline as to when it would go down, and everything she said was 100% accurate. In fact, just a couple weeks ago, she made a video talking about how Diddy was going to be involved in some serious trouble that would land him in jail. She also specified that it would happen at the end of March and sometime in April. She said he wouldn't be able to say things he needs to say, and he would be used as the scapegoat by the higher-ups.
Look, man, it could be one of the reasons why she thinks Diddy's an FBI informant working on bringing all the top dogs in the industry down. And look, at this point in time, I don't think there's anything any of us is going to be surprised about when it comes to Diddy and all his shenanigans.
But as far as Meek Mills, Puff Daddy, whoever, none of these, all you fake hard, you. Hold on. Okay. All you fake hard, you. You know what I'm saying? I don't give because you can't shoot nobody anyway. And the reason why you got to talk is because you did a deal, you fed. You know what I'm saying? That's why you got to come at me, because part of the deal for you to be able to do all that and get out of jail is that you promise that you're going to go pull my coat card. So y'all shut the up about me. Now let me say it calm. You shut the up about Michael. Right.
Oh my gosh, where do we begin? All right, well, he's changed his name many times over the years. You might know him as Sean Combs, Puff Daddy, Puffy, Puff, P. Diddy, or just Diddy, the D, the I, the D, the D, the Y. Okay, well, there have always been rumors, and quite frankly, I always thought that they were conspiracies because they sounded crazy. First and foremost, rumors that he was gay. Also rumors that he was behind the killing of his quote-unquote best friend, the notorious B.I.G., and also that he had something to do with the killing of Tupac. Well, last year, things got interesting because Combs' ex, her name was Cassandra, she went by Cassie, and she filed a federal lawsuit against him in New York alleging years of assaults. Now, again, they dated for like more than 10 years, so she obviously was very close to him and knew his lifestyle. Her lawsuit contained graphic allegations that he raped her in 2018, that he physically abused her, that he intimidated her, that he made her have sex with male escorts while he watched. The lawsuit also alleged that he blew up another artist's car, his name was Kid Cudi, in order to stop him from seeing Cassie romantically when him and Cassie split up. I mean, again, all of this sounds insane if it's true. Well, Kid Cudi thought the accusations were true. He said, yes, that is factually what happened. But of course, Diddy denied those allegations. And he instead came out and said that Cassie was simply trying to blackmail him for $30 million. And by the way, that is plausible, right? We've seen tons of those instances, especially in the era of Me Too. But this one felt a little different because we're like, okay, but she's known you for a very long time. And these allegations are quite weird. But we never got a follow-up there because then he very quickly settled with her for an undisclosed amount. And then even more women started coming out saying they were victims of Diddy. And then it seemed like an avalanche, and he issued a very strong statement condemning them for essentially extortion attempts and trying to murky his name. So again, you don't know what's real, you don't know what's not, until this recent lawsuit, and this one's different, guys. A man named Rodney Jones has come forward to sue Diddy. And this is not your average lawsuit. I will say right now, many lawsuits are in fact frivolous. I have fought and won frivolous lawsuits. This person, however, his name is Rodney Jones. He lived, traveled, and he worked with Diddy as a producer. And he is alleging that he has hours upon hours of recorded footage and pictorial evidence, which has been included in this document, to support his claims. And I have to say, these claims seem very credible. Now, to be clear, Rodney, also goes by Lil Rod, is suing Diddy and others, we're going to get to who those others are, for $30 million, claiming that he was subjected to sexual misconduct for the duration of the production process of an album. It is a 70-page lawsuit that has been filed in the Southern District of New York. And he is claiming that while working on the album and living with Combs in New York, California, Florida, other locations, that Diddy repeatedly groped him, touching his, I'm sorry to say this, guys, his anus and his crotch without consent, and attempting to groom him into accepting a homosexual relationship by showing him explicit videos of others in Hollywood. Yes, they have named other artists, claiming that homosexuality was a normal practice in the music industry. He's also claiming that Diddy would walk around the house naked and force him to watch him shower, and is alleging that he went forward and told Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Karam, about this. And Christina came back to him and said, well, Sean will just be Sean. So we're going to go through some of these explosive claims. Again, right at the top, I'm going to make it clear so that I don't get sued that these are all allegations. Everything that I'm going to say after this is an allegation that is being claimed by Rodney in this lawsuit document, which we will include as a link for you guys if you're watching this on YouTube. So let's go through the big claims. Ready? Number one, this is perhaps the biggest claim, is that Diddy and his son murdered someone in plain daylight and got away with it. That there's apparently a man that they know, that everyone who works with Diddy knows, that they can call and they essentially will get everything cleaned up. And they are implicating the LAPD in this madness because they produced fake reports. And he's got some real good evidence to back up these claims. He says that one evening during a camp that they were running with several musicians, Mr. Combs and Jay Combs were in a heated conversation with somebody named G. And while this conversation was moved out of the studio and into a restroom that was adjacent to where Jones was sitting, he heard approximately 2 feet away from him again, Mr. Jones is the producer that's suing him, gunshots suddenly ringing out. He recalls hearing multiple gunshots. Mr. Jones immediately went into a state of shock and fear that he would be shot next. He genuinely believed that he would be shot through the door due to how close he was. After the shooting ended, a crowd gathered around the restroom. When the door finally opened, Mr. Combs and his son exited. G was lying on the restroom floor in a fetal position, holding his stomach and bleeding out of his leg and his hip area. Everyone stood around and looked up at him. Frustrated by the lack of aid that was being provided, Mr. Jones, the producer that's suing again, dropped everything, ran to the guy, and immediately began placing pressure. As he was applying pressure on his stomach, he realized that G was gushing blood from another area. He decided to lift G up and place him to sit on the toilet, and he asked the crowd to call the ambulance. Now, here is what is interesting. The ambulance does arrive, and Mr. Combs, according to Mr. Jones, Diddy gives strict instructions to inform the police that he had nothing to do with the shooting. He also forced the producer to lie to the police by telling them that G was shot while standing outside of the studio. And the police just believed this, despite the overwhelming evidence that this shooting did not take place outside of the studio and that it instead took place inside near the bathroom. He includes in his lawsuit this photo of the bathroom and we are blurring it here, of the blood in that bathroom. And then it is stunning because he also shows how the media then reported it. Right? A fake police report was produced, and then fake headlines were the result. This is CBS News. Man shot outside party at Hollywood recording studio. The key word there is outside. How on earth could the LAPD be implicated in lying? Well, he alleges that there is an individual, again, that they know that they can call to clean up any types of murders, and that individual will make sure the right officers write down the fake police reports and that those are then fed to the media to cover up